Councillor Hill.
Thank you. I've got some straightforward questions, but I really want to dwell on what was just said. So could you please confirm, Madame Amilcar, the role that Sambarata plays vis-a-vis the Trillium line, the Confederation line and expansion, and this new oversight role? I asked the question because I was under the impression that there was a jurisdictional air gap between the two lines. And I would just like to hear clarification on whether or not this audit or subsequent other engagements on the concern of instructor training or investigations has changed the way we conduct our safety regulatory oversight for the full LRT system.
Thank you for the question, Chair. So I will happily answer that question. So they're completely different regulatory models and nothing has changed. So on the Trillium line, as the Auditor General noted, it is federally regulated, which means it's regulated by Transport Canada and the Canadian Transportation Agency, just like any other federally regulated railway like CN or CP or Via Rail. That's a totally independent regulatory model that we have on the Trillium line. So the Transport Canada and the Canadian Transportation Agency is responsible for regulatory oversight on the Trillium line. Whereas on the Confederation line, we have a delegation agreement with Transport Canada, and that is the model that we have where we have this independent regulatory monitor and compliance officer, Sambarata, as Renee mentioned, and his role is to conduct monitoring on the Confederation line, both stage 1 and the expansion to stage 2. The oversight that we're talking about right now is just simply internal oversight to ensure that on the Trillium line, that the federal regulatory requirements are followed, and that on the Confederation line, that the internal requirements are being followed as well. So no change to our regulatory framework. They are still as they were when we did the presentation to Transit Commission, I believe April last year.
Thank you for that response. That is the framework that I was under the impression we were operating under. And just to state my position on that, I guess for the record, I'm not comfortable with the lack of arm's length and the complexity of that framework. And it's something that I certainly will be looking to work in Transit Commission and perhaps through audit to I think, evolve us to a more simplistic system so that we are not trying to catch things through audit committee and internal fraud and waste processes. So I'll go back to my first straightforward questions here. Madame Amilcar, you've stated that the Trillium line is safe. Is the Trillium line operating safely today?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are the driver operators of the Trillium line fully qualified and capable to drive this in accordance with regulatory requirements?
Yes, Madam Chair.
For subsequent trainees, are our instructors fully qualified in order to give the training necessary in order to build up the newest cadre and the future cadre of Trillium line drivers in accordance with all requirements from the regulator?
Based on their previous experience, Madam Chair, the answer is yes. Can we still improve the way that we do things? Yes. Will we be able to have better instructors in the future? The answer is yes, because now the system is built.
Are we conducting all of our operations for the Trillium line in accordance with all requirements from the regulatory body at present?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Prior to the Auditor General's report, were we operating the Trillium line safely?
Can you repeat, please?
Prior to the awareness of the Auditor General's report and the investigation with regard to training, were the operations that we were conducting on the Trillium line safe?
Yes, Madam Chair.
So I need to understand how we were operating safely when the Auditor General's report indicates that the instructors that were training the driver operators were not properly qualified to be instilling their knowledge onto the new driver trainers. So how is it that we had unqualified or potentially inappropriately assessed instructors teaching driver operators but we can state that we were operating the system safety during that trial and evaluation period.
Madam Chair, the Auditor General was clear. It was prior revenue service, and we confirmed that we are okay now. And so there is no doubt for us. And as I said as well, the training is one of many, many tools that the system has. The system will EB, emergency brake, if ever something happens. So it's one of the toolbox that we have.
Thank you. And my last question, has the OC Transpo Union made a statement or comment on this report?
Chair, I will actually try to answer that for Madame Amicard. As the report was just circulated this morning, I don't think that the union would have had an ability to comment on that. We did not reach out to them with regards to our investigation.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you.